So this is lesson 8 of music theory. So after this lesson, we still have 4 more, so yeah. Okay, so today we're going to be mostly learning about time signatures. We'll do a little review first, and then we'll learn what these different terms mean because they all describe time signatures. And then we're gonna do our second part of the classical periods. So last week we did Baroque, so this week we're doing classical. Okay. So first is a review. We're just going to explain what each of the time signatures mean. So for the first one, I'm going to call on Camelia. What does this time signature mean?
So the 6 means 6 beats in a measure, and the 8 means a quarter note is, the 8th note is 1 beat.
Very good, perfect. So the 6 means each measure has 6 counts, and 8 means each 8th note gets 1 count. Okay, so for the second one, I'll call on
Dylan. That each measure has 5 counts and a quarter note is a beat. A count.
Very good. Yeah, so the top note tells you how many counts it gets, and then the top number tells you how many counts each measure has, and then the bottom number tells you which note gets 1 beat. Excuse me. And since we're going to be doing a little more complicated time signatures after this, just remember an easy way to tell how many notes get 1 count is, you know that quarter means a fourth, so if it has a 4, it means a quarter note gets 1 count, and an eighth, that's 1/8, so when you see the number 8, just think of an 8th note.
It's like a denominator.
Exactly. Good, okay, so just some definitions. The time signature for a piece of music is found at the beginning next to the key signature, and the time signature is made up of 2 numbers. And sometimes you'll see the letter C or a C with a slash, which is used instead of numbers. So C, I think maybe you guys have played pieces that have this one before, but C basically equals 4/4, and that's also called common time. I think if you guys don't know that term, it's good to remember. And then this, a C with a slash through it, is called cut time or Alabreve. And this one equals 2/2. So I think the next slide, we'll see what 2/2 means. Yes, so Alabreve or cut time is a 2/2 time signature. And that means that there are 2 beats per measure and each half note gets 1 beat. So remember the pattern I told you guys on the first slide? The top number is 2. So each measure still gets 2 beats. But since the bottom number is a 2, that means that instead of a quarter note or an 8th note getting 1 beat, a half note gets 1 beat. Okay, is everyone familiar with 2/2 time signature or no? Kind of? Okay, I see Dylan is good. So let's just go over this quickly. Okay, so an example, this is 3/2, so there's 3 counts, and a half note gets 1 count. So yeah. So 2 quarter notes equals 1 half note, right? Math. So you have 6 quarter notes, which is 3 half notes, and that gets you 3 counts. So that's 1 measure. And then you just follow the same logic for the rest of the piece. Okay, so for this one, identify and explain the time signature of the piece. I'll call on
Alvin. 8th note gets 1 beat. 12 beats in 1 measure, and by the way, the greater than symbol means to play more hard, I guess.
Exactly, very good. It's called an accent.
Yeah,
yeah. I know you know what it means. And we're gonna talk a little bit about how accents relate to time signatures in a while. But very good. So there are 12 beats per measure, and each 8th note gets 1 count.
Oh, I get it. They like dun 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 dun.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, we'll visualize that later. Okay, so that was all a review. I'm sure you guys all know how to tell time signatures and what they mean, but now we're gonna learn how to classify them by different names. I think if this is level 3, I don't think you learn this in level 3, you learn it a bit later, but we do need to go over time signatures, and this isn't a super hard concept, so we're just gonna do it. Okay, so the top number of time signatures can vary from 2 to 12 or even like 16, So how can we classify these different time signatures? We can use simple versus compound to name them. So simple meter, it's what it sounds like. If the top number of the time signature is a very simple number, so 2, 3, or 4, the time signature is referred to as a simple meter. And then a compound meter is, it's compound if the top number of the time signature is divisible by 3. But obviously you're not including the number 3 because that's a simple meter. So for example, the 12/8, which is what we saw last, that would be considered a compound meter because, okay, if that makes sense, like it's compound because you can easily divide it into 4 different beats. Usually when you play in 12/8, if you have, you're not going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That takes so much longer to count than just 1, 2, 3, 4. So even though there's 12 counts, we like compound the counts together, and that's why whenever it's divisible by 3, as you can see here, it's called a compound meter. Okay, and then some meters don't fall into either of these categories. So if the top number of the time signature doesn't match simple or compound, then it's an asymmetric meter. So those are like weird numbers that are usually odd, like 5/4 or 7/4. Okay, so does anyone have any questions about these classification names? Okay, so is this simple, compound, or asymmetric? And keep in mind, if you can divide it by 3, then it's compound.
This is the most common compound. Most common compound signature.
I agree. This is probably the most common compound one. Okay, so for the next one, I'll call on people to answer. Okay, this one.
Asymmetric.
Very good. You can't divide it by 3 and it's not 2 or 4. So it's asymmetric.
Most common asymmetric.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't see many pieces written in 7/4, but 5/4 is much more common. Okay, next one I'll call on Dylan.
Simple.
Very good.
Most common simple.
Yeah, I did not intend it that way, but yeah, this is simple. Okay, well, that was it. So there are other ways of classifying them as well, and later we're going to put all of these terms together. Okay, so in addition to classifying time signature by simple versus compound, we can also identify them by whether they are a duple, triple, or quadruple. So in case you don't know what those words mean, duple basically represents 2, triple represents 3, and quadruple represents 4. Okay. And
U means 2, tri means 3, quad means 4.
Exactly. So yeah, for example, a time signature can be referred to as a simple triple meter. So that's how you would place the two things together. So first, let's classify what these mean. So duple means if the top number is 2, or it is 2 when divided by 3, it's a duple. So for example, 6, 8, when you divide 6 by 3, you get 2. So it's a compound duple. Okay, next, triple. If the top number of the time signature is 3, or it's 3 when divided by, 3 when divided by 3, I could just say 9. If it's 3 or 9, then it's a triple, because 9 divided by 3 is 3. And for quadruple, if the top number of the time signature is 4, or it's 4 when divided by 3, which is basically 12, then it's a quadruple. And asymmetric time signatures, you wouldn't call them any of these. You would just say asymmetric by itself. Okay, does that make sense to everyone? Yay, okay, so let's identify them on the next slide. So, okay. So for this one, I think I'll just call on someone and you can do both parts. So you would call it like duple, triple, or quadruple, and then simple or compound.
Triple.
Very close. This one, it's really easy to get wrong or get confused because 6 is divisible by 2 and 3. But remember that whatever, like whether it's duple, triple, or quadruple, you divide the top number by 3. So what is 6 divided by 3?
6 divided by 3 equals 18.
6 divided, not times.
6 divided by 3 equals 2.
Very good. Yes, 2. Yeah, so if we divide 6 into 3 equal parts, then each one has 2. So yeah, that one would be duple, since if we go back to the last slide, hold on. Yeah, wait, okay. If you divide it by 3 and it becomes 2, then it's a duple. So it's not a triple because we didn't have 9. We had 6 instead. So now that we know it's a duple, is this a simple one or a compound one?
Compound.
Very good. If we had to do any division or divide anything, it is a compound duple. So 6 divided by 3 is 2. So you would call 6, 8 a compound duple time signature. Okay, and this knowledge of naming the time signatures, it's going to carry with you to if you take the highest music theory class. So I guess this is a good place to start remembering it. Okay, let's do the next one.
Quadruple because it's 4.
Good. And then is it simple or compound?
Simple.
Good, because we didn't have to divide by 3. Yay. Okay, so next one.
Triple.
Wait, why do you think it's triple?
Divide by 3. It's duple.
Wait, okay, explain your thought process then.
You have to divide by 3.
7?
Mm-hmm.
You can't divide 7 by 3.
You have to get the
Okay, I guess this one is kind of like a trick question, but remember, it can be either simple, compound, or asymmetric. The rest of you guys can type your answer in the chat, whatever you think it is. Okay, remember I said
it is asynchronous.
very close. It's asymmetric, but yeah, you have the right idea. So remember, if you can't divide, if the top number isn't 2, 3, or 4, and you can't divide it by 3, basically it doesn't match either the simple or the compound description, then it's asymmetrical. Let's just quickly review that before we go on to I think there's 2 more, so hold on. Yeah, if the top number doesn't match 2, 3, or 4, or divisible by 3, for example, 5 or 7, then it's asymmetric. Okay, where were we?
Triple?
Very good. And is it simple or compound?
Compound.
Very good. Because you have to divide 9 by 3 to get 3. It's only a simple one if the top number is 2, 3, or 4. So if it's anything above that, it's not simple. I guess that helps you remember it. Okay, good job. This is a compound triple. Next one.
Triple?
Very close. Remember, we're dividing first of all, is the top number a 2, 3, or 4? Yes, no?
No.
Yeah, it's not. It's 12. So let's try to divide 12 by 3. So we can do that. So what do we get when we divide 12 by 3?
12 divided by 3 equals 4.
Very good. So would 4 be a duple, triple, or quadruple?
Quadruple?
Very good. Because duple means 2, triple means 3, and quadruple means 4. So now that we know it's quadruple, is it simple or compound?
compound.
Very good, because we had to divide by 3 in order to get 4. Okay. And good. Everyone else in the chat got it right. Good job. So this is a compound quadruple. Okay, so this is what I said about like accents after Alvin said something. So different time signatures have different natural emphasis on beats. So I think this picture below shows what we're talking about. So if the piece is in 2/4, the first beat of each measure is emphasized. Okay, and this is where like simple versus compound comes into play, because as you can see, remember 2/4 is a simple duple, right? Because it's 2. And then 6/8 we said was a compound duple. So they're both duples. So no matter how many beats there are in each measure, only the first beat is emphasized and the second one is like kind of emphasized. So it's kind of like divided into 2 parts, just like 6/8 is. And that's why we have simple versus compound. Okay, and then for 3/4, yeah.
For 12/8, remember that thing? I would say like, for the 12/8 first beat, I say super strong, and then soft, soft, strong, soft, soft, strong, soft, soft, strong, soft, and super strong, soft, soft. Kind of like that.
Yeah, it's kind of like 4/4, except instead of having 2 eighth notes between each marking, there's 3. Yeah. We can, wait, let's just, okay, after I talk about 4/4, we'll go back there. So 3/4, the first beat of each measure is emphasized. This one, I think they drew a little wrong. I guess some pieces do this, but mostly the first beat of each measure is emphasized, only the first beat. Okay, and then 4/4, the first beat of every measure is emphasized and the third beat is emphasized slightly. So they did this one wrong too. Well, according to the book I'm from. So in 4/4, you would emphasize the first beat, and then the third beat would be kind of like a kind of emphasized one. And then for 2/4, it's only the first one, and then, yeah. And if it's flat, that means, if like there's a straight line, that means that the emphasis is less strong, but it's still there. Okay, so now we know that about 4/4, which is strong on 1 and then kind of strong on the third beat. Let's go back to 12/8, which is like the compound version of 4/4, if I can find it. Okay. Yeah, so as we can see here, I guess you can emphasize every beat, but the most emphasized is going to be 1 and 3. Okay. Okay, we have 8 minutes left, so we're only going to do, okay, let's just do one of these. Hold on. Okay, these ones are a bit harder, so I'll try to add them on the homework and you guys can try them out. Let's do the one with 5/4 because it's in 4 and we know how to count that. So for this exercise, we're just going to like write in the bar lines for each measure. This is a very common exercise on the theory test, and you're definitely going to have to know how to do it at some point. Okay, good, my thing works. So I'll call on one of you for each, and you can annotate if you want, or you can just tell me. So this would be 1, 2, and then I think you guys should write like the and part. So a dotted quarter note has 1.5 counts because that's what the dot does. So it's good. 3 and 4. My pen is kind of big. And then this eighth note gets half a count. So this is only an and. So like 1 and equals 1 count. So and would be half. And then 5 is the last note, which gets 1 count. Okay, so now we know how to do one measure. Let's do the next measure, and I'll call on Alvin for this one.
Then find the missing bar lines. So like the whole thing, right? Or like just one?
Just one measure.
Okay. This.
Very good. Yeah, so if you want to think of it quickly, this thing is 2 counts, this whole thing is 2 counts, and this is 1 count. But on the test, make sure you write in like 1 and 2 and yeah. Okay, so there's 2 more lines to fill. A triplet of eighth notes get 1 count, and I would write this as 1 and A. Or yeah, you can do that bracket thing if you want. And then eighth notes, obviously it's 1 count, 2 and then 2 16th notes are the same as 1/8 note, so this is also 1 count. And I would write this as 3 E and a. I don't know if that's how you guys do it, but that's how I count. So these are for each 16th note. And then a half note obviously gets 2 counts, so that is 4 and 5. And then for the last measure, it's just, this is 1, 2, and then 3, 4, 5. Okay, does that make a bit of sense to everyone? This exercise is definitely a bit harder for like your level, but you guys did it very well. Okay, so we're finally here, but we obviously don't have that much time, so we're just gonna go through the important parts that are gonna be on your homework. Okay, so the classical period is from 1750 to 1820. And this is handwritten sheet music from Mozart, which is pretty cool. Okay, so instruments of the classical period, the main 3 important developments that are different from the Baroque period is that we now have an actual piano. Remember in the Baroque period, we only had a harpsichord, but now we have a real piano. And then the orchestra also increased the number of instruments like these. And composers now added dynamic markings and phrasing because we have an actual piano now. Okay, so this is the important part. So music of the classical period was characterized by A, homophonic texture. So remember last week we said polyphonic texture for Baroque, and polyphonic texture means that the melody is in the treble clef and the bass clef, but this time homophonic means the same. So this time it's only in one clef and then the accompaniment is in the other clef. Like if you play Mozart, it's pretty obvious to tell where the melody is, much more obvious than say Bach or someone Baroque. So that's kind of what this idea is. So B kind of goes along with A, recognizable harmonic structure, so you can easily distinguish the melody and the harmony. That's what it means. And I guess C, they use more rests. That's just another characteristic. This one is very important as well, just to know the name. It's called Alberti bass. So this is a style of accompaniment that you will see a lot in Mozart and other classical performers, composers. It basically uses the pattern of low, high, middle, high. So if you see that, just think Alberti bass. Okay, forms, sonata, symphony. Yeah, sonata form is a new form that came in the classical era. And the concerto, remember we said we added more instruments, so the concerto became pretty popular too. And string quartets were also developed, which basically there's 2 violins, 1 viola, and 1 cello. And operas. Okay, so there's gonna be a question about sonata form on your homework, so just gonna quickly go over this. Sonata form has an exposition at the beginning, the development, which just means that the piece gets harder, and then the recapitulation, which means you go back to the beginning. If you play a sonata, it probably has this form. And you can read more about this on your own. Those are some links. Yeah, and these are some very famous composers of the classical period. Beethoven's kind of classical and romantic, but he's still here. So yeah, Mozart, Haydn, Clementi. Okay, this is the last slide we're going to go over. So in the classical era, many composers used homophonic texture, as opposed to polyphonic texture in the Baroque period. So this is like what's different about classical versus Baroque. And there are also no more terrace dynamics. Remember, that means that there's no crescendo, but now we can crescendo and stuff because we have a piano, a modern piano. And the Alabreve bass, which is the pattern, is a unique feature of the classical era. But the similarities include the use of sonata form, different ornaments like trills, a cadenza, which you can search up to find the definition, and orchestra works. Okay. Well, I guess technically we started class 2 minutes late, so we're okay on time. Okay, so last is just a place to put all the vocabulary. Here's a simple, compound, asymmetric, the time signature stuff, and then the most important takeaways that you should learn from the classical music presentation. Does anyone have any questions? No? Okay. Yeah, so if no one has any more questions, then that's it for today. Thank you all. Bye.